Hello dear students, this is Dr. Shabana Begum, Associate Professor from the Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bangalore, presenting a talk on the anatomy of human digestive system pertaining to BSc Zoology 4th semester, Unit 3, under the paper entitled Comparative Anatomy, Human Anatomy, Cell Biology and Histology. Before I begin the lecture on the anatomy of human digestive system, let me give you the definition of human anatomy. Fine. You must have heard the term anatomy in your lower classes, and you must have even learned the definition of it. Now, just to revise it, you can define it as the study of the structure of the body of man as learned by dissecting it. So, this is the definition for human anatomy. Or you can even define it as the study that deals with the organization of the parts of the body and the structural relationships between them. So the content of this particular session would be to know more about the mouth, the tongue, teeth and salivary glands. The learning objective would be at the completion of this lesson, the students will be able to learn about the functions of GI tract as well as learn the anatomical features of digestive system and its associated organs as well as accessory glands. So let us start with the class Anatomy of Digestive System Part 1, before which a small introduction about the digestion, then the digestive system. Fine. So you can define digestion as the process of conversion of the complex food substances into simpler absorbable forms. Fine. Absorbable forms. Fine. That's there. Then the digestive system is a collective name used to describe the alimentary canal and accessory organs which help in the process of digestion and absorption. The alimentary canal, also known as GI tract, that is gastrointestinal tract, is a hollow tubular structure extending from the mouth up to the anus. It has a general structure which is modified at different levels. Fine. So you can say the main organs that make up the digestive system are the mouth, the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus, and helping them along the way are the pancreas, gallbladder as well as liver. So in today's class, let us have a journey to understand the anatomical features of mouth, tongue, teeth and salivary glands. And before that, let us understand some important functions of the GI tract. So this GI tract helps in certain processes like ingestion. What is ingestion? Ingestion is taking of food into the alimentary canal, that is eating and drinking. Next is propulsion. Propulsion helps in mixing and movement of the content along the alimentary tract. So it mixes and moves the contents along the alimentary tract. Digestion consists of mechanical breakdown of food, example mastication, also called as chewing, and chemical digestion of food into small molecules by enzymes. The next function is absorption. So this is the process by which digested food substances pass through the walls of some of the organs of the alimentary canal into the blood for circulation. Finally, defecation. So the food substances that have been eaten but cannot be digested and absorbed are excreted from the alimentary canal as fecus by the process of defecation. Fine, you can see this particular diagram. It will show you the wave of contraction in the form of peristalsis, you can say, will be pulled down. It just moves the food downwards. Fine. So you can mention how the food is getting digested. Then there is also absorption, secretion, etc. I have just mentioned over here. You can just go through the slide once, and later we will do the class once again with the various functions of different organs in the digestive system. Fine. Now let us learn about each of the part of digestive system which we are going to study. That is the first one being the mouth. So mouth are also called as the oral cavity. Fine. Mouth is also called as the oral cavity, and it is the first portion of the alimentary canal that receives food and produces saliva. It is bounded by muscles and bones. Fine. It is bounded by muscles and bones. Fine. Anteriorly by the lips. Posteriorly it is continuous with the oral part of the pharynx. Laterally by the muscles of cheek. Superiorly by the bony hard palate and muscular soft palate. Inferiorly by the muscular tongue and the soft tissue of the floor of the mouth. So the part of the mouth or buccal cavity outside the gums and teeth is called the vestibule, and the remaining part is the mouth proper. So the palate is divided into the anterior part, which is called the hard palate, and the posterior part called the soft palate. The bones forming the hard palate are the maxilla and the palatine bones. The soft palate is muscular, curves downwards from the posterior end of the hard palate and blends with the walls of the pharynx at the sides. The uvula is a curved fold of muscle covered with mucous membrane which hangs down from the middle of the free border of the soft palate. Fine. So originating from the upper end of uvula, there are 4 folds of mucous membrane, 2 passing downwards at each side to form membranous arches. The posterior folds, one on each side, are called palatopharyngeal arches, and the anterior folds are called the palatoglossal arches. Fine. On each side, between the pair of arches, there is a collection of lymphoid tissue called the palatine tonsils. So this particular figure in this slide will show you the internal anatomy of the mouth, where you can see the presence of the tongue, the lips, then the soft palate, hard palate, teeth are there, gums can be seen. Apart from all that, structure which is curved and muscular, which hangs down, right, which hangs down from the middle of the free border of the soft palate is called the uvula, can be seen very clearly. Fine. So the next structure which one has to study is the tongue. So tongue, you all know, is a highly muscular and voluntary organ present in the floor of the buccal cavity. Tongue is a muscular organ and it manipulates food for mastication and is used in the act of swallowing and also for speech. It is attached by its base to the hyoid bone and by a fold of its mucous membrane covering called the frenulum to the floor of the mouth, that is the buccal cavity. Fine. So tongue is of importance in the digestive system and is the primary organ of taste in the gustatory system. The tongue's upper surface, that is dorsum, is called as dorsal surface or dorsum, is covered over by taste buds housed in numerous lingual papillae which are filiform, fungiform and circumvallate. So you can mention the dorsal surface of the tongue consists of stratified squamous epithelium with numerous papillae called lingual papillae containing taste buds having 2 different types of cells. the taste cells, also called as neuroepithelial or sensory cells, which respond to different types of taste, and also there are supporting as well as they can be called as sustentacular cells, which support the neurosensory cells in a pod-like manner. So the papillae on the dorsum of the tongue are also called as lingual papillae. Fine. And these are of three main types in man. They are filiform, fungiform, circumvallate papillae. The circumvallate papillae are the largest papillae, around 8 to 12 in number. They are arranged in an inverted V-shaped manner at the base of the tongue and are the most easily seen. The walls bear taste buds. The fungiform papillae are situated mainly at the tip and the margins of the tongue and are more numerous than vallate papillae. They have narrow base and rounded apical region and bear taste buds in their epithelium. Finally, the filiform papillae are the smallest of the three types and are found to be most numerous on the surface of anterior two-thirds of the tongue. They have broad base and narrow apex, and their epithelium do not have taste buds. Fine. So this information about the different lingual papillae you can just mention. Fine. Then I said the human tongue is divided into two parts, an oral part at the front and a pharyngeal part at the back by sulcus terminalis, which is a groove which is called as sulcus terminalis. Coming back to the blood supply to the tongue, it is by means of lingual artery as well as external carotid artery. These arteries will transport or carry the pure blood to the tongue, while the venous drainage is through the lingual veins and the internal jugular veins. Fine, the deoxygenated blood will be brought back from the tongue by means of these veins. Fine. So the nerve supply is through hypoglossal nerve, that is the 7th nerve, as well as the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is the 9th nerve. And coming back to the functions of the tongue, first function is mastication. So tongue helps in mastication and swallowing of food, mixes saliva and food also. Fine. So you can say deglutition, swallowing. Then it helps in speech, and it is an organ of taste and can recognize 4 tastes like the salty, sweet, bitter and sour. So the next structure we are going to learn is about the teeth. As you all know, the teeth are embedded in the alveoli or sockets of the alveolar ridges of the mandibles and maxilla. You know what mandibles and maxilla are? So mandibles are the lower jaw and the maxillae are also called as the upper jaw. The teeth are diphyodont, thecodont, heterodont, etc. you can mention, and each individual has 2 sets of teeth. Fine. They function to mechanically break down items of food by cutting and crushing them in preparation for swallowing and digesting. The humans have 2 sets of teeth, I just said, primary teeth or deciduous teeth, also called as temporary teeth, and the second type is called as the permanent teeth. Fine. So the sketch of diagrammatic view of the 4 different type of teeth is drawn here. That is the incisors, canines, premolars and the molars. Let us learn about them little later. So coming back to primary teeth, these are 10 in number and are found, in fact, the 10 are found in the maxilla, that is upper jaw, and 10 are found in the mandible, that is the lower jaw, for a total of 20. Fine. The dental formula for primary teeth is 2102 divided by 2102, that is to start to, and also you can mention They start to erupt at about 6 months of age, and in the primary set of teeth, two types of incisors called centrals and laterals, one canine, and two types of molars, that is first and second, are found, while premolars are absent. Then all primary teeth are normally later replaced with their permanent counterparts in the 6th year of age. What are permanent teeth? So, the permanent teeth begin to replace the deciduous teeth, that is the temporary or primary teeth, in the 6th year of age, and this dentition consisting of 32 teeth is usually complete by the 24th year. So, at the age of 21, fine, all 32 of the permanent teeth have usually erupted. So, among permanent teeth, 16 are found in the maxilla and 16 in the mandible for a total of 32. The dental formula of man is 2123 divided by 2123. Fine. This you have studied in your intermediate classes too. So, in the permanent teeth, the incisor and canine teeth have one root. The premolar in the upper jaw have two roots, and in the lower jaw only one root. Like the deciduous upper molars have three roots and the lower two. So, the permanent teeth are the incisors. I said two incisors are present, which have chisel shaped crowns giving a sharp cutting edge for biting food. One canine for tearing and piercing, that is, these teeth have large conical crowns. Then dagger shaped, used for tearing and piercing. The premolars are bicuspid teeth, have almost circular crowns with two cusps for grinding food. And each of them are called cheek teeth. Then three molars are present. These teeth are the largest. Molars teeth are the largest and have broad crowns with 4 to 5 cusps and used for grinding. These are also called as cheek teeth. So, another important tooth, it's called as wisdom tooth. Maybe for 1 mark they may ask a question about it. It is a permanent third molar tooth which develops once in a lifetime between the age of 18 to 25 years. So, next about the teeth, we have to learn about its structure. So, structure of tooth, you have to learn to draw the neat label diagram of the tooth with different parts with different colors. If you want, you can show. And this diagram here gives you the main parts of the tooth. You can have a look at it as and when I explain it. So, although the shape of different teeth is different, the basic structure is the same and consists of three parts. So, the crown is there, neck and root. So, the part that protrudes from the gums is called the crown. The neck is slightly constricted part where the crown merges with the root, and the root is the part which is embedded in the jawbone. So, first let us learn about enamel. So, enamel is the hardest and most highly mineralized substance of the body. Very important for 1 mark. So, it is one of the 4 major tissues which make up the tooth along with dentin, cementum and dental pulp. And the 96% of enamel consists of mineral with water and organic material comprising the rest. The normal color of enamel varies from light yellow to grayish white. So, next part is the dentin. So, dentin is the substance between enamel or cementum and the pulp chamber. It is a mineralized connective tissue with an organic matrix of collagenous proteins. It is porous, yellow-hued material is made up of 70% inorganic material, 20% of organic materials and 10% water by weight. Actually, the dentine has numerous fine canaliculi that pass radially from the pulp cavity towards the enamel. The cement is covered over by periodontal membrane made up of collagen fibers. Narrow extensions of the pulp cavity called root canals. They run through the root of the tooth. The pulp also contains, here you can mention next is the dental pulp. It is the central part of the tooth. It's filled with soft connective tissue, and the tissue contains blood vessels and nerves that enter the tooth from a hole at the apex of the root. It also contains cells called as odontoblasts, which are called dentine forming cells, and amyloblasts, which are the enamel forming cells. What is cementum? Cementum is a specialized bone-like substance covering the root of a tooth. Its coloration is yellowish and it is softer than dentin and enamel, and it fixes the tooth in its socket. So the functions of teeth, once again you can mention. The incisors, which are 2 in number, help for cutting. The canine, which is 1, will be used for tearing the food, and the 2 premolars you use for crushing the food, and the 3 molars are for grinding the food. So the nerve supply to the teeth is to the maxillary nerves and mandibular nerves, and the blood supply, that is arteries, that is maxillary arteries, will supply oxygenated blood to the teeth, and the venous drainage, that is the venous drainage, is through that internal jugular veins. So they will bring the deoxygenated blood from the teeth. Fine. Apart from that, the last part of the digestive system for today's class is the salivary glands, which I am going to explain now. So as you have studied about the salivary glands in your lower classes, these are the compound racemose glands, which are exocrine glands and produce a secretion which is called as the saliva through a system of ducts. Racemose glands means they are composed of groups of sac-like alveoli which form small lobules. Ducts from each lobule unite to form a larger duct which conveys the secretion towards a main duct through which the salivary secretion is poured into the mouth, that is the buccal cavity. One more important point you have to remember: about 1.5 liters of saliva is being secreted per day. The humans have 3 paired major salivary glands. They are called as parotid glands, submandibular glands, and the sublingual glands. Fine. Let us learn about each of them one by one. First being the parotid glands. These are located just below the ears. The parotid glands are major salivary glands. They are wrapped around the mandibular ramus in humans, and these are the largest of the salivary glands which secrete saliva to facilitate mastication and swallowing, and amylase to begin the digestion of starch. So the salivary amylase is also known as ptyalin. P is silent, P-T-Y-A-L-I-N. Ptyalin is the salivary amylase which begin the digestion of starch in the mouth. It that is the saliva enters the oral cavity via the parotid duct. See it, about the names of different ducts will be asked for 1 mark, so you have to remember them very well. So the duct of the parotid gland is called as a Stenson's duct, through which the saliva will be poured into the mouth, and it produces 25% of the secretion which is watery, serous in consistency, that is watery in consistency. So you can see the 3 salivary glands very clearly in this particular slide, where the the largest being the parotid gland and the smallest are the sublingual gland, and the size which is in between the two is that of the submandibular gland. As the name indicates, sub means below, so sublingual means below the tongue they are present, and submandibular is below the mandibles. So the submandibular glands, these are found below the lower jaws, and these glands are a pair of major salivary glands located beneath the lower jaws superior to the digastric muscles. So they are present superior to the digastric muscles. The secretion produced, which is about 70%, is a mixture of both serous, that is watery fluid, and mucus or viscous type, and enters the oral cavity via the submandibular duct named Wharton's duct. So WHARTON''S So the Wharton's duct is the duct of submandibular glands. The third type is called sublingual glands. This is located beneath the tongue, I said, and these glands are a pair of small salivary glands. They are located inferior to the tongue, anterior to the submandibular glands. Approximately 5% of the saliva entering the mouth or oral cavity comes from these glands, and the secretion produced is mainly mucus in nature. There are other minor salivary glands which are present. They are almost 800 to 1000 in number, which are located throughout the oral cavity. So there are 800 to 1000 minor salivary glands located throughout the oral cavity within the submucosa of the oral mucosa, in the tissue of the buccal and lingual mucosa. Now let us learn about the composition of saliva. That is, I just said that about 1.5 liters of saliva is produced daily, and it consists of mostly water, mineral salts, an enzyme called salivary amylase, that is called ptyalin, mucus, lysozyme, and even immunoglobulins. Fine. So the blood supply to the salivary gland is by means of external carotid artery, while the venous drainage is by jugular veins. Function of saliva is very important to note here. The saliva contributes to the digestion of food and to the maintenance of oral hygiene. That means it cleans the oral cavity almost. Without normal salivary function, the frequency of dental caries, gum disease, and other oral problems increases significantly. It acts as a lubricant. It coats the oral mucosa, mechanically protecting it from trauma during eating, swallowing, and speaking. So it acts as a lubricant. This is saliva. It coats the oral mucosa, mechanically protecting it from trauma during eating, swallowing, and speaking. The enzyme ptyalin initiates the digestion of carbohydrates, converting starch into maltose. The saliva has more functions, like the digestive functions of saliva include moistening food and helping to create a food bolus. This lubricative function of saliva allows the food bolus to pass easily from the mouth into the esophagus. The saliva also has a major role in taste. So saliva is very important in the sense of taste. It is the liquid medium in which chemicals are carried to taste receptor cells, which are mostly associated with the lingual papillae. Some other functions you can mention: since saliva maintains a pH of the mouth, it is supersaturated with various ions. So there I stop the explanation about the four structures of the digestive system, that is the mouth, the tongue, teeth, and the salivary glands. Hope you all have followed it, and these are few references for you to go through for further clarification. Thank you.